feels like I've been here all before. Radio humming, the world feels right. Every little thing's in tune tonight. Shadows fade, the truth comes through. Fresh start in the morning blue. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Left your feet don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day. Oh, coffee steaming, a smile breaks free. Simple joys are enough for me. Stones roll out, but I don't mind. Sun's still waiting on the other side. Turn it up, feel the sound. Good vibrations all around. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Lift your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day. Oh, no heavyweight, no looking back. Just open roads and a steady track. Hands in the air, feel the sway. Let the light carry us away. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Spin around, let the music play loud. Every color's here to stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day. Oh, morning light, as the clouds roll past. Hold this feeling, make it last. Wake up, sunlight tapping on the door. Feels like I've been here all before. Radio humming, the world feels right. Every little thing's in tune tonight. Shadows fade, the truth comes through. Fresh start in the morning blue. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Lift your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day.
It happens all the time. Muted. I don't know why it does that. I like unmute it and then it mutes itself and then I gotta unmute it again. I like gotta double click on it. Annoying. Good morning. Sorry, guys. Smash that like button, share the program. This is the Conservative Cat Show. So do appreciate you being here. You can always support the program. I take your chats at the end of the program every day, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time. And you can always go to patriotpumpenergy.com, get your bottle of premium pre-workout today with promo code conservative cat for $10 off. This has 150 milligrams of caffeine. It's great stuff. It's got black pepper extract, so it makes your caffeine work for you. You don't need 300 milligrams of caffeine. You just need a carefully crafted product. And I love Patriot Pump. It's great stuff. So throw it in the comment section. There was a poll that just recently came out, Fox News, and I just looked at it right before I popped on, and I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Is ICE being too aggressive or not aggressive enough? I'm in the 17% camp. Okay, I'm in that club where they're not aggressive enough. 59% of people say that ICE is being too aggressive. What? I think they're not being aggressive enough. Look at the deportations under Barack Obama. They're double what Donald Trump's deportations are. I'm sorry. I love Donald Trump. He's a great president. He's done some really cool things at a international level, global level. It's just domestically he's screwing up. I'm sorry. I think that we need more deportations if we're going to be able to deport the 20 million illegals that came in under the Joe Biden open border. That we're not on pace to get rid of them, and we need to dig our heels in more. And this move to pull Kristi Noem out of there, I don't care what you feel about Kristi Noem right now. Okay, Donald, I really don't. This is not the time to appear like you are giving up, and that is what this stinks of. Like you're giving up and you're gonna ramp it down, and I just hope that doesn't happen. He says that it's not gonna happen, but I don't know. Adjusting things, Tom Homan in there, like I love Tom Homan, but I don't know if they're gonna adjust things. And he says, oh, we had a great conversation, Tim Walz and I having conversations with the guy. Like, come on, go arrest him. They're an open rebellion of the United States. They have been funding a militia with taxpayer dollars, and they're an open rebellion of the United States. Go arrest them. Invoke the Insurrection Act now. Today is January 29th. He still has yet to invoke the Insurrection Act, either in Illinois or in Minnesota. So yeah, I'm and like 20-something% of people said that it's just right. Like the aggression from ICE is just right. Somewhere around there. What do you think? Throw it in the comment section. Is ICE being too aggressive? Do you think they're not being aggressive enough? Or is their aggression just right? All right, we've got lots of things to cover today. Yesterday, I did like a play-by-play breakdown of what I believe still to be a staged event. 99.9% sure this is staged. This was an apple cider vinegar attack. So somebody had actually thrown in the comments yesterday that they thought it was pig urine. Wasn't pig urine. Hazmat has actually confirmed that this was apple cider vinegar. This is actually really good for you. So maybe he was like trying to do something nice for Ilhan Omar. Apple cider vinegar is great for you. You take a little teaspoon a day, tablespoon a day. That's it's great for you. She only got a little bit on her arm and her chest. So who did it? Who's this guy? I'm going to tell you what we know so far. And I don't know. I'll leave it up to you if you think it's staged or not. You can throw it in the comment section. Give me a number. I think it's 99.9% staged. Throw me a number in the chat. Next, I do want to talk about BBC. They confirmed this video is they ID'd Alex Pretti in this video. Facial recognition identifies him. BBC confirms that they used facial recognition technology. This is an uncovered video of Alex Pretti. What he's doing, he kicks a taillight in. And this was a week prior to his death. Okay, so a week prior to that shooting. And I'm just so sick of 2A people. I think that the NRA came out and they said like something about Alex Pretti. I am so sick of like some 2A people where it's like, this guy was not a 2A guy. Okay. One, you don't engage, provoke, resist arrest when concealed carrying, right? This is defense. That's what the Second Amendment is all about. It's about self-defense. It's not about offense and going and trying to hurt somebody. He's spitting on ICE officers in this newly uncovered video. It really destroys this whole narrative that Alex Pretti was a peaceful protester, a bystander helping a woman. Okay. That whole narrative has been destroyed. I like this rule. I have a rule, 48 to 72 hours. Give the story some time to breathe. We find out pretty quickly. We know, when Alex Pretti's last bowel movement was, after 72 hours. So we know what kind of guy this guy is. He was in signal chats. He was deployed to that address. We know what was happening possibly at that address. It was an address where Border Patrol was deployed. I don't know if they were conducting an operation in relation to that address where there were several businesses listed at this 1,100 square foot building. Sounded like Somalian fraud. Don't know if they were looking for the Somalians who were committing fraud out of that building possibly, but he interfered. Okay. End of the day. And it's starting to look more and more like, but the DHS hasn't confirmed this. They're investigating it. The SIG P320 went off when the officer grabbed it out of his holster. He shouted gun, even if the gun didn't go off and the officers heard the word gun, that is already a reasonable perception of deadly harm or deadly force, and that justifies their use of deadly force in defense legally. Okay. And screw the people who say, "Ooh, morally this is just so sad." It's just, look, this guy, if he wasn't going to die that week, he was going to die the next week. The week prior to his death, he had a broken rib. He was escalating. Okay, he was probably going to die next week because he keeps putting himself in these situations where he's engaging and provoking people with guns, law enforcement with guns, and he's spitting on people, kicking their taillights in. Like, win stupid prizes when you play stupid games. Okay, if he wasn't going to die this week, it probably would have been the next week. He was a militant. He understood, like, when you are a part of a militia, when you are part of the military, you sign your name on that dotted line and you know that it's a possibility you're going to die. This guy, through the signal chats, through this well-funded, sophisticated organization, signal chats, the ICE groups, the administrators are elected officials who are probably privy to information surrounding the operations, the federal operations that are underway. Like, this is very sophisticated. He signed up. This is the cost of war. Okay, death. That's what this is. This is a full-blown war. They're funding militants. Foreign adversaries of our foreign countries of ours are funding militants, and they're trying to take down the United States from within inside itself. And there are casualties in war. There are fatalities in war. And he understood the consequences of that. He chose the side of insurrection. He chose the side of our foreign adversaries. And he was treasonous. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what happened here. He was fighting a war against the United States. He knew the consequences, and had he not died last week, he was going to probably die the next week, okay, or the week after that, because we are in a full-blown war. And shame on President Donald Trump for not invoking the Insurrection Act and being more aggressive. We need to be more aggressive, but they're scared about their little stupid midterms, and Yeah, I mean, we're getting too close to the midterms where we're not going to get anything done. I mean, Barack Obama conducted more deportations. I mean, double. I think he's in the 200s, Donald Trump, for the year. And in the same first year as Barack Obama, his first term, I think he was in the 400s. Okay. This is insane. 400 something deport, or I'll have to look up the 200,000, 400,000. I'll have to look up the numbers. Don't quote me on those numbers. But I do know that Donald Trump has conducted not as many deportations as Barack Obama. And we've got a serious, serious problem here in this country if that's and that is the case. All right. I do want to talk about this, though. This is kind of cool. I did not expect Donald Trump to be serious about this. FBI raids were conducted in Fulton County at their election hub. And this was after, and I told you guys about the World Economic Forum. He called and vowed that prosecutions were going to be happening surrounding the 2020 election that was rigged. So I've got information on that. We don't have a ton of specifics, like why the FBI is actually going in there, what they're looking for. There's no names or anything. I am going to speculate a little bit here. Fulton County, we know, was like ground zero for election issues and voter fraud claims. We know that Fulton County, if you're going to raid anywhere, definitely raid Fulton County. And I think that there'd be piles of evidence if they have it. I mean, this is 3 years after, or what is it, 26 years after the fact. That's insane. So I don't know. We'll have to dig through that today. I also want to talk about in Illinois, there's a proposal. This is fascinating. Democrats are always like 6 steps ahead. Okay, so this is going to be marriage applications by video. So right now you can kind of do your marriage application online, but then you got to go in person and verify that application at the county clerk's office. Okay, that's how it kind of currently exists in Illinois. But now they want you to do it all completely via video call and verify your application information via video call. I've got issues with this. People have got concerns, serious concerns with this. They're always 6 steps ahead. Really what I think this is they're trying to set up an infrastructure where they can actually do video marriage by video call through the county clerk, so they can justify later, say they introduce a bill that allows you to vote virtually. Okay, so they develop the infrastructure, they do it with the marriages, and then they can introduce a bill that says, hey, we're going to do voting virtually, completely virtually. Like, we already have vote by mail, which is gay and stupid. And they screw that up, right? A lot of county clerks screw that up. And third-party contractors that the county clerks contract to do the vote by mail. Like, we got to get rid of vote by mail. What they're going to try to do, I bet, in a couple of years, they're going to try to do vote by virtually vote. And we've got issues with verification when it comes to vote by mail. But at least there's things like tracking, there's signature verification still. There's some type of way to verify your vote by mail. Now, virtually, especially if it's all done through like an app, internet, good luck. Once you move everything online into cyberspace, we will not have an election anymore if we start moving voting virtually. They're doing this with marriage now, but like I said, Democrats, they're always 6 steps ahead. So they start out small, and then they chip away at your freedoms and at democracy. Our democratic process, they chip away at this country little by little. Okay, so that's how they work. They're in it for the long game. Okay, so yesterday I told you about the bizarre attack on far left Ilhan Omar in Minneapolis. I told you about the attack. We kind of played by play video. She appeared to have nodded to the guy right before he launched himself at her. He was sitting in the front row. C-SPAN, they zeroed in on him, like his face. And just to let you know, and I know this is going to be, I'm telling you the secrets. A lot of MMJs, multimedia journalists, people who go to journalism school, what they're taught is not to film ugly people. And I hate to be blunt and brutal with you, but I always had professors tell me, pick somebody. If you're doing man on the street, for your own safety, don't pick the shady fella. Pick somebody who's young, somebody who looks good on TV. That's literally what they tell you in journalism. And I thought that was odd. Like, out of all the people at Ilhan Omar's campaign or Ilhan Omar's event here, town hall, they picked this guy and they zeroed in on him. Now, that's not strange. I'm just telling you the kind of the behind the scenes of how journalists think. They zero in on somebody, and that's not strange. You're taught to kind of like get people in the crowd and zero in on their faces and get their emotions right before the event. However, we are told in journalism school, avoid the ugly people. Okay. And just to be frank with you, like, this guy's really overweight. He was in sweatpants, didn't look presentable. You don't want that, for TV, just for TV purposes. Ugly people don't look good on TV, right? But you also have it at like C-SPAN and like these mainstream media outlets. They're zeroing in on this guy prior to even taking the podium and zeroing him out and, pointing him out in their footage, their B-roll footage. And, they're extremely biased. Okay. They love Ilhan Omar, your mainstream media. Why in the world would they pick this guy and zoom in on his face? It's going to make Ilhan Omar look bad, right? It's like a sloppy guy who clearly has no personal hygiene. He's a supporter, because that's who would all be there at an Ilhan Omar town hall event, would be supporters naturally. But you zoom in on this guy. It's going to make Ilhan look like she has like these frumpy people backing her. You would want, to film in on the young black guy, right? The attractive black guy or the young woman, So I found it odd that they were zooming in on his face prior to her even speaking. But Ilhan, she was speaking at this town hall event, and then the guy approached her and he sprayed her with what we thought was an unknown substance, but now we know what it is. It's apple cider vinegar, and he pointed and yelled at her. It was kind of unintelligible. I didn't quite pick up what he said. I think he said, "You should resign," or something like that. After she had called for Kristi Noem to resign, the man was quickly taken down by a security guard. Omar was unharmed, and then she began to move forward towards the assailant, and she angrily yelled at him. Just a refresher. Here we go. Yeah. So there you have it. A little clip just as a refresher. And then we've got no serious injury. Nobody was seriously injured. He kind of stumbled into the arms of the security guard, by the way. It's like he stepped into the security guard's arms, almost like it was staged. Okay. So this individual, I mean, he's sitting very close, and you have got to be pretty insane not to have a reaction of like, hey, I just got sprayed with a crazy substance by a crazy guy, or an unknown substance by a crazy guy. I should probably go get checked. Like, you have got to, I just don't believe that a woman definitely would not have that kind of reaction. So a lot of people have speculated that this is staged. I think that it is 99.9% staged. But they're saying that this guy is a CNN, that this guy is on the right. Okay. Is this guy a leftist freak? Is he somebody on the right? Let's start out with his name, Anthony Kazmierazak. Okay, he's 55 years old. Here's what we know so far. He was booked at Hennepin County Jail for third degree assault. Sorry. And like third degree assault, like you could honestly argue that he was trying to help Ilhan Omar out here. This is apple cider vinegar. Like he probably would have assaulted her more had he used his Fiji water bottle and splashed her in the face with water. The guy doesn't have a violent record. He's got some DUIs under his belt. Some people do say, like, this guy kind of looks like he was drunk then. Yeah. How do you convince somebody to do something like this and to stage this, assault? You probably got to get a guy that has nothing, absolutely nothing going for him. Okay, if this were to be staged, who would I pick? Somebody who's got really nothing to lose and everything to gain if I offer him some money. Maybe some money from my winery business that made like $5 million overnight. Ilhan Omar, that came out yesterday, which was crazy. It's just a fake business. It's a winery. And in 1 year's time, it went from being worth $15,000 to like $5 million, I think, dollars. And I'm just like thinking to myself, what? How are they getting away with this? Anyway, so he was convicted of driving under the influence a couple of times, according to Newsweek. Court filings show that he has a divorce. 2017, he has 2 children who are complete libs. He's not employed. He's receiving disability insurance payments. He's been married, divorced twice, and that's according to CNN, citing official marriage and divorce records. People thought he was under the influence at the time. Take a listen.
And round of applause for Congresswoman Omar's staff who's here. Hi, everyone. I'm Hennepin.
It's very possible that he was under the influence even then. Okay. And who do you pick to do something like this? Somebody who's got nothing going on. He's got the water bottle. Wouldn't doubt there's vodka in there, right? Like I wouldn't doubt that he was under the influence, but that doesn't change anything. That actually proves my point that perhaps this guy was carefully selected to be the actor here. Proves my point that this could possibly be staged. Apparently, he had a bankruptcy petition, so in desperate need of money. It shows that he had credit card debt, medical debt, and legal debt. He is not married, registered as disabled, receiving Social Security payment. So he's really hurting for money. So who would do something like this? Okay, who would risk going to jail? Who would do this just so that way he could have some sort of payout? This guy. Okay, so CNN says that there was a Facebook profile. Now, I didn't even see the Facebook profile. It's reported by CNN that there was a Facebook profile and he had political posts on there of criticisms of Democrats and of Joe Biden, right? And Vice President Kamala Harris, like, okay, and I didn't see the Facebook profile post. Even if that's real, though, it doesn't matter. They could have gotten somebody who's slightly right. Okay, this guy is not a far right person. He was critical of Joe Biden, like most Democrats were critical of Joe Biden. Okay, and he was critical of Kamala Harris. Most Democrats were critical of Kamala Harris. This is by no means. And he was critical of Ilhan Omar. He posted a political cartoon criticizing her security spending. Okay, so she spends money on security. And I mean, if they were going to find a guy that would do this, he's right now, this guy, he's got nothing going for him. From what it sounds like, he's got a couple of divorces. His kids are complete lefties. Now, I don't know. Something doesn't add up. He loves his lefty children. Clearly, he's pictured with them here. The one leftist child uses different pronouns or gender, some sort of non-binary pronouns. I don't know. Okay. So something doesn't quite add up. His wife was actually ex-wife was very pro Ilhan Omar. Maybe, he started having different kind of politics after their divorce. I don't know, maybe he still holds, leftist politics. It's hard to convince me that this guy is a far right individual. If he was a far right individual, he wouldn't be hanging out with his gender pronoun kid, right? So hard for me to believe that he's totally MAGA. It kind of stinks of being staged still to me, but Ilhan, her team could have easily found somebody slightly right, had a Facebook profile, had some political posts from 2021 being critical of Kamala Harris, being critical of Joe Biden, and, said, hey, you're really down on your luck. You don't even really like Ilhan Omar all that much, do you? You have this post. What if we gave you tons of cash to just squirt a little bit of apple cider vinegar on this lady? Okay, so the story gets even stranger and I think it even further proves that this could have been staged. According to the New York Post, his neighbor prior to the event had talked with the maniac who allegedly attacked Representative Ilhan Omar with this apple cider vinegar at the town hall. The neighbor of his had talked to him, and there was a text message that this guy, what's his name? Kazmir Zak. There was a weird text message. He kind of was cryptic in it, and he sent it to his neighbor. He said, hey, I'm going to the Omar thing. And the neighbor was like, what Omar thing are you talking about? This town hall thing. I might get arrested. And the neighbor had said like that was their text message exchange, and the neighbor dismissed it as nonsense, and he said I didn't think he was going to do anything stupid. And then he said, sure, I'll walk her the dog. Okay, because the guy who sprayed the apple cider vinegar all over Ilmar had asked him to watch his dog. But then the next day after he asked the neighbor to watch his dog, he said, don't worry about it, I've got it covered. And he goes, I figured he blew off the event. The neighbor thought he wasn't even going to go. Okay, so very strange. Like, it's almost like too perfect. Okay, he admits on text message what he's going to go do and that he might get arrested. Okay, like, I don't know. It couldn't have been more perfect than that for the law enforcement to apprehend him and to arrest him. Like, it couldn't have been more perfect. There's evidence now, indicating that he had plans to go to this event. Okay, so Casimir Zak, the neighbor Brian Kelly, had said that Casimir Zak, the guy who sprayed Ilhan, had asked to watch his dog, and he wanted to go see Ilhan Omar speak. And he sort of hinted that something was going to happen at the event. Okay, I might get arrested. And I don't know, the neighbor sort of blowing this off. Like, when somebody tells me, like, hey, I'm going to an event and I'm going to get arrested, that's going to send alarm bells off. No, like, I'm his neighbor and he tells me, like, I'm going to an event and I'm going to get arrested. Can you watch my dog? Like, nobody's going to have such a nonchalant response to that. It's just very weird, the whole thing. So this guy is currently being held without bail. Fascinating. There's murderers out there who are being released. He's being held without bail, so he's being held. He's in custody. But yet there's murderers. The guy in Chicago who wound up lighting a woman on fire was released like 70 times. But this guy, he sprays a little bit of apple cider vinegar on Ilhan Omar, and apparently he's going to face some stiff consequences and is already facing stiff consequences. I mean, being held without bail for something like that, kind of silly. Anyway, there's a Republican senator. He says that he thinks that the Ilhan Omar attack was faked and that she should be thrown in jail. He was on with Benny Johnson. This is Tommy Tuberville, and he's a Republican U.S. senator. Take a listen. Here we go.
The president said that he thinks that Ilhan Omar getting sprayed last night was fake. He says, I wouldn't doubt it. She's a fraud. I wouldn't doubt it if she went ahead and if she sprayed herself, he said. What's your take on this? I'm sure you've seen some of it on the internet this morning.
Oh, well, this person sat on the front seat on the front row, right in front of Omar, and then took off running to the right. I mean, if you're going to have somebody that's going to go after somebody, they're not going to run away from them. And that you could tell that was pretty much all staged. Now, again, I'm just saying that because you look at you look at what the Democrats have done and how they act and the things that they say that they're supposedly for our country. And then, of course, she is under big time investigation. She's trying to get the heat off of her. At the end of the day, this is the Democrats, playing games. And Ilhan Omar needs to be in jail. And as you said, she's as guilty as they come. Third world country and worth $30 million. Hey, this is a great country, and they shouldn't be trying to change it like they are if somebody like her can make $30 million.
Okay. Yeah, somebody says apple cider vinegar. That makes 0 sense. Wouldn't an actual assaulter use something potentially to harm her, say like pig blood or something? Yeah, somebody was whispering. There were whispers that it was pig urine, something that makes a statement, right? If this guy is far right and was criticizing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, as CNN reports, and made fun of Ilhan Omar and how much she spends on security. Like, if this guy truly was far right, wouldn't he make some sort of statement? I mean, even if, okay, let's say, for example, this guy is legitimate, like a legitimate attacker for a second. Okay, this 0.1% chance that this is real. I think it's hilarious. I do. Like, I'm sorry. Like apple cider vinegar, very funny. He had not intended to hurt her at all. You know what they do at Republican events, even locally. They are very aggressive. I've seen people spit on. Okay, I've gone to Back the Blue rallies. A guy in a wheelchair got spit on by one of these Democrat agitators who went to the event that day, and like little bit of apple cider vinegar on her arm, she's fine. Okay, and if this was actually legitimate, kind of funny. I'm gonna dismiss it as a drunk guy who, maybe has a little bit of distaste in his mouth over his ex-wife, and his ex-wife happens to be an avid Ilhan Omar supporter, very much active on social media. She loves AOC and Ilhan, his ex-wife. Maybe he's got a bad taste in his mouth after the divorce, and he's kind of just bitter, drinking way too much. And some drunk idea was, hey, let's squirt her with apple cider vinegar. I mean, it's kind of out there. That's why I don't believe it. But even so, I think it's hilarious. Okay, like this guy facing steep consequences for that. I don't know. At most pay a little fine, do some community service. I think that would be a just punishment. It's kind of funny. Okay, she wasn't hurt. And he didn't even get that close to her, right? I mean, it was in a syringe, and I don't know, a syringe, you usually go up and try to stab somebody with it and poke it into their skin. He like deliberately just went like this and shot it at her and stayed a pretty good distance away and happened to stumble. And thank God, right? For Ilhan, he stumbled right into the security guard's arms there. It's almost like it was staged. There was also, and this is an important tidbit, he had to pre-register for the event. So, I don't understand how at this point we're like debating if it was staged or not. It's like really not that serious, even if it wasn't staged. It's obviously just somebody drunk who like stumbled in and sprayed her, you know, with a little bit of apple cider vinegar on her arm. She's going to be all right. Right. I mean, like, we're making a big deal out of this for really nothing, but this is directions on how to pre-register. So they knew everybody who was going into that event. Okay. So you mean to tell me, like, you guys didn't know who this guy was? He was a mystery man. That's how it was spun in the beginning. Mystery substance, mystery man. And no, they knew this guy's name, you know, his intentions, I'm sure, being there. I mean, this was a pre-registered event. And again, it was apple cider vinegar. The left, when Trump was quite literally almost assassinated, they said, oh, that was overblown. It was a shard of glass, that a shrapnel, right, that grazed his ear, and the bandages, they made fun of him for wearing a bandage on his ear. Look, the attempted assassination involved a high-powered rifle, okay, and her assassination involved a syringe with about that much apple cider vinegar in it. Okay, so I don't know. I feel like this guy's probably going to be apprehended and face steep consequences, and nobody is going to face consequences for the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump's life in Pennsylvania. I know the guy's dead, but like, there's tons of questions there. His connections to BlackRock, the assassin, you know, did he act alone? I'd like to see perhaps you know, his parents or people in his inner circle be held accountable, brought in for questioning. I'd love to see more people held accountable, because I don't believe that this nerdy kid with glasses was capable of almost killing the president. I think more people were involved in that, and we're not going to see any consequences for those people who helped that guy. But oh yes, this guy, we've got to hold him accountable, and we're going to hold him in jail without bail, and he's going to face, you know, all the consequences. But like I said, I don't even think it's really all that legitimate, and to be honest with you, he's probably going to get out of jail, and, you know, he'll face steep consequences. He'll get it dismissed eventually, and then he'll get out of jail, and this is probably what the Omar campaign promised him was, hey, you know, probably hey, we're going to give you money, and you're going to get out of this debt. You're going to, you know, live a decent life. And we'll just take it out of my $5 million winery. We'll pay you. And in fact, here's a bottle of wine. We know you like the sauce, man. Right? Bottle of wine, but I can't actually get it from my winery because it doesn't exist. So yeah, I didn't actually get it from my winery. Anyway, let's shift gears. I got to talk about this video. It's been uncovered. BBC has actually confirmed that this video is a 97% match to his face, Alex Pretti. They used facial recognition technology. We can pretty much say that this is Alex Pretti in the video. Okay, that I'm going to share with you here soon. BBC confirmed the authenticity of the video in their news broadcast. Reporter Ross Atkins said that the man in the video has the same coat, facial hair, and gait as Alex Pretti. Facial recognition tool technology suggests that it is a 97% match. In the video, we can see him abusing agents, spitting on them, kicking their taillights in. And this was the week prior, I think, to his shooting. Where ultimately he did suffer from a broken rib because he was being arrested for his obstruction and for his resistance back then. Don't know how he was back out onto the streets after doing something like this, Alex Pretti, but, you know, a BBC spokesperson confirmed to Mediaite that they reviewed the footage and verified that with facial recognition technology, that it is a 97% match to Alex Pretti. Okay, so the video came out and people were sharing it, and they were trying to say, that's not him, that's not him. because their narrative is falling apart. Give it 48 to 72 hours. The narrative really starts to fall apart. And by the end of the week, we know that and now it's even coming out that he wasn't even an ICU nurse. I haven't confirmed this, but probably in the next couple of days, we'll find out that he quit his job. His parents had kind of come out and said that, at least there's rumors that his parents are coming out and saying that his life totally changed. He did just happen to be in a nasty divorce like a couple of years ago, or a divorce a couple of years ago, and went through that, which is sad. But the wife came out and said, I didn't think that he'd ever hurt anybody or get physical with anybody. That didn't seem like him, right? It's been reported that the wife came out and said that, but she said, I hadn't really talked to him since we've gotten divorced. I think it was about a year. And then the parents are now coming out and saying, like, yeah, he took a really weird turn, allegedly. Like, that's what the parents have said. Now, this is all rumor, speculation. Okay, at this point, I do know that he was divorced and that the wife came out and said that she didn't think that he would, like, get into a physical altercation with anybody. The parents thing hasn't been confirmed yet. But I think in the next couple of days, we're going to find out that, and much like Renee Good, even Renee Good had a child, 6-year-old boy, obviously heterosexual, and then turned into a lesbian, I guess. These people have had, I mean, you go from being heterosexual to homosexual and marrying a woman. That's an extreme shift. And then you quit your job as an ICU nurse, and that hasn't been confirmed, but there's whispers now that the parents said that he went through, an extreme shift and actually quit his job. He's an ICU nurse. He's a peaceful protester, an innocent bystander. That whole narrative has gone out the window, folks. Okay. This guy was what I believe to be a trained militant using signal chats. And had he not died this week, he would have died the next week, because he knew what he signed up for. He was going out and being deployed to operations that ICE are present for, and he's being deployed. There's people, obviously administrators in these signal chats, who are getting insider information on where ICE is going to be, and then they throw it in the group chat, and then the militants respond. Fox News' Bill Melugin, he's reporting that the DHS, they are aware of the video, and Homeland Security investigations are investigating the video. So let's look at it. Here we go. Take a look.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Pretti interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground.
Because that's vandalism.
During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat, and he walks away. The man in our footage is wearing a similar outfit to what Pretti was wearing on the day he was killed. What appears to be a gun is also visible above his waistband. Here, he continues to stand at the scene. On the day he was killed, the Department of Homeland Security claims Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, approached officers holding a handgun. That claim has been contradicted by analysis of bystander videos from multiple news investigations, which concluded that Pretti was holding a phone, not a gun, when he was pinned to the street.
Okay, I think you get the gist. Yeah, I mean, he had the gun there. Okay, it was in his pants. Okay, you run up to officers with a gun in your pants. You bust their tail lights. You spit on them. Like, of course, you're going to wind up. I don't know if this was, where he got his broken rib, but you're going to wind up being arrested. But then they let him go, which was fascinating to me in the video. I'm like, what? They ultimately let him go? They just let him go because he took his coat off and. Yeah, but this whole narrative about these Nazi ICE agents, killing an innocent, gentle ICU nurse, it's all starting to really unfold fast. In fact, I don't even know if the ICU nurse thing is legitimate. Okay, there's whispers that his parents have come out and said, yeah, he quit. So this has all been blown to bits. This narrative, this intel is very explosive. This is footage of a guy who 97% looks like Alex Pretti with a gun in his waistband. And this wasn't on Saturday. This was the week before. And he was attacking federal law enforcement and he kicked their taillight in. This was on January 13th. Okay. So like I said, if it wasn't last weekend, Pretti was going to die. It would have been this weekend or the next weekend, because this guy is clearly not a peaceful protester. He's putting himself into situations where ICE are at. He's obstructing operations, and he's doing so in a very sophisticated way. And there is an apparatus, signal chats, administrators who know obviously where these operations are happening, and they're tipping their militants off. So, and like any militant, that, hey, my time is limited in a time of war. And that's what this is. And Insurrection Act needs to be invoked. He had a broken rib about a week before his fatal shooting. Federal agents tackled him. I guess they let him go because he's out there a week later. So they collected his information, I guess. I don't know. Sources tell CNN that Pretti stopped his car after fighting ICE agents chasing a family on foot. And this is what happened the week prior to the shooting, where he broke his rib and began shouting and blowing a whistle to intervene. They say the action prompted several agents to take him down. CNN did. Well, no, it wasn't just the whistle, right? We now know, if this video has been confirmed, right? So let's look. January 13th. That would have been, he died on Saturday, January 4th. January 13th, the week before. We now know that if this was the incident where he broke his rib, and I think it is, that it wasn't just him blowing a whistle like an innocent guy and saving a family, right? He kicked the taillight in and he spit on people. Okay. 5 agents tackled him, leaned on his back, and then he kind of threw his body around, resisted arrest. You can see he's clearly resisting arrest. I don't even think they really arrested him. Now, they did have his information because CNN tried to frame it like, oh, they're tracking these protesters. Well, when you spit on an agent and you vandalize their vehicle, right, they're going to take down your information for possible prosecution. But I don't know why they didn't apprehend him and put him in the car. I don't know. He evaded arrest and apprehension, which, he's lucky. He didn't get shot then. He had the gun sticking out of his pants then. Anyway, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, she has gone out and she has said, and she's encouraged people to put their body on the line. That is what he did. This is militant well-trained militia, sophisticated, well-funded. He's a part of it. And like Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan ordered, put your body on the line. That's exactly what he did. Okay. And Flanagan, not proven yet, but possibly there's somebody called Flan Southside listed as an administrator in the signal chat. And there's speculation that she could possibly be in that signal chat as an administrator. And Boogie is Tim Walz. Hasn't been confirmed, but kind of odd. Flan Southside, right? It's an alias in the signal chat. Many elected officials are in that signal chat that have been confirmed, and many aren't confirmed, but they're using their real names and titles in the signal chat, so we can assume or presume that there's even more elected officials in that signal chat than what we can confirm. There's at least 2 elected officials in Minnesota that we can for sure confirm because they admitted out loud that, hey, I'm a part of this signal chat and I want you to be too. And there was another, I think it was a representative, at a state level, state politician, where his personal phone number was connected to the kickback text. Once you signed up for the signal chat, his personal phone number was the kickback text where he thanked you for joining the group. Very sophisticated. Anyway, FBI agents, let's get to them. They were spotted in Fulton County at the election hub. Good morning, Cat and Chat, getting a late start this morning. I do like this comment. We are going to get to this before we get to, or after we get to the FBI agents searching the Fulton County election hub, the marriage by video. So doesn't that ensure citizens marrying non-citizens? Yeah, so it's a marriage application. And on that application, you have to attest that you are a citizen of the United States. I think, I mean, there's application questions like are you 18? Are you over the age of 18? And are you a citizen? Like there's questions like that on there. And those have to be verified in person currently as Illinois law exists now. And you have to take your application in person. You can fill it out online, but you have to go in person and attest that all that information is true. And then they, sign off, the county clerks. But with this new bill that they've introduced, it would all be done on video, the verification. And you might have, I could foresee, video verification isn't as strong as in-person verification. We know this. And can be susceptible, like virtual. If you're doing it all virtually, it could be susceptible to cyberspace hacking. Your application could be changed. And yeah, the video verification, I just foresee it being a mess. But I could foresee a situation where you have a citizen marrying a non-citizen, and when you apply for that, you have to, there's steps to get this marriage license. There has to be immigration involved when it comes to marrying a non-citizen and green cards and necessary paperwork. So when you check that I'm not a citizen and I'm marrying a non-citizen, there's subsequent paperwork that you have to present to the county clerk. Okay. So that could potentially, if it is all virtual and video, that verification and the subsequent documentation that's needed could go by the wayside and not be collected. Okay. If you're just doing video verification or virtual verification. Okay. So yeah, terrible bill. We'll get to it here in just a second after we get to the FBI agents. So they went to the election hub and operations center in Fulton County. Now, this is the central election facility. Okay. Now, this has been reportedly the place where some issues happened in the 2020 presidential election. Okay. And they had raided this place in connection with matters related to that 2020 presidential election. Okay, so that's why they were there, because there's some issues with the 2020 election. And this action happens, and I think that the timing is very important here. This comes after President Donald Trump, World Economic Forum. I covered it, and I thought that he wasn't going to do jack poop, right? Because I'll count to 3, and I'm going to arrest these people, or I'm going to invoke the Insurrection Act, and we're going to be so tough. And then the Trump administration counts to 3, and nothing ever happens. But the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Trump said that prosecutions were imminent over what he described as a rigged election. So Fox News Digital reports that the agents were seen entering the election hub. So this is a new facility that state officials opened in 2023. And it was designed to streamline their election processes. Okay, so a post on X further indicates that the FBI was executing a search warrant. So streamline their election processes or cover up what they did in 2020. I don't know. Right. So they created a new facility here, and it's there's speculation here that they raided this place because they think that there's some evidence that could show that the 2020 election was rigged. Okay. So they executed a search warrant, but they're kind of being hush-hush about this, the FBI. So Fox News Digital reports that while it was not immediately clear what the FBI agents are investigating, sources have advised them, okay, Fox News Digital, that the probe is related to the election, the 2020 election. So details are very scarce here. The search comes after a week. A week ago, President Donald Trump said prosecutions are imminent. And he goes, oh, it's probably breaking news that at the World Economic Forum. Take a listen to what he said. Here we go.
Of miles away, separated by a giant ocean. It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. You can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked. It's very biased, terrible. But someday it'll straighten out because it's losing all credibility. Think of it. When I win in a landslide, a giant landslide, won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything, and they only get negative press. That means that it has no credibility. And if they're going to get credibility, they're going to have to be fair. So you need a fair press. But you also need those other elements. And I inherited a terrible, terrible situation. If you look, the border was open. The inflation was raging. Everything was bad with the United States when I came into office. But I also inherited a mess with Ukraine and Russia, something that would have never happened. And I know Putin very well. He and I would discuss Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye, but he wasn't going to do anything. I said, Vladimir, you're not doing it. He would never have done it. It was terrible what happened. I could see it happening, too. After I left, I could see it happening. Biden had given Ukraine.
Okay, so Trump is always questioned the results of the 2020 election. I always have. Because come on now, Joe Biden, 81 million votes, most votes ever in American presidential election history, despite Joe Biden having as much rizz as a meat tenderizer. Okay, guy, I'm sorry, 81 million votes. And then where did those votes go in 2024? Because 20 million people didn't show up for the 2024 election. And you would think, okay, this is a Trump election. Like, why didn't they show up for Kamala Harris like that? So 2020 had issues. Now, there is no indication that the president's comments are linked to that search warrant that's just recently been executed. But I think that the timing should be noted here. And like, I can kind of tell when President Donald Trump like flubs up maybe, or like gives something a little bit like just a little sprinkle, of what's to come. He kind of says, like, for example, there he says, probably breaking news, but it should be. Right. He kind of has a knack for doing that, where he like kind of, I don't think it's a slip. Maybe he like intentionally does that. But it's definitely curious, right? So there's a report out there, a Red State report in December. It indicated that Georgia State Election Board investigation had substantiated that Fulton County violated election rules in 2020 by failing to have poll workers sign tabulation tapes for early votes in 36 out of the 37 advanced voting precincts. So the Georgia State Election Board said, Fulton County, you screwed up. There's election laws where it requires poll workers to sign tabulation tapes. And they didn't sign the tabulation tapes. Okay, so that affected approximately 315,000 ballots. It's a lot of voting precincts that didn't happen at, 36 out of the 37 in Fulton County. So they screwed up there. And again, the FBI hasn't talked about specifics of why they went in for the search. Okay, so it could be that the poll workers were required to do that. They're trying to gather evidence. The FBI is raiding the election hub there to try to get these ticker tapes, their tabulation tapes that the poll workers are supposed to sign. But they could be trying to get that. There's also other things that happen in Fulton County that I'll get to here in just a second. But President Donald Trump has repeatedly alleged fraud took place in the 2020 election. And let's be real, Fulton County definitely was ground zero for the most concerns, most complaints about voter fraud in the beginning, in 2020. Okay, so everybody knows Fulton County is the place to go if you are going to try to collect evidence. Okay, now it's 3 years later, they created this election hub. What kind of evidence did they preserve? Okay, for the FBI, they executed a search warrant at the election office. Yes. And, this is a brand new facility to streamline elections. I don't know how much they're going to get out of this Georgia County surrounding those controversies that happened in 2020, because, they had 3 years, right? And then they built a brand new facility. I mean, so, and now it's 6 years after the fact, even after that facility. So there was, if you'll remember, a high profile racketeering case against President Donald Trump in Fulton County. This case was ultimately dismissed after years of fighting. It was dismissed in 2025. So it was 5 years in the making. They tried to say that President Donald Trump and others like Rudy Giuliani, Pastor Stephen Lee, he's an Illinois pastor. They tried to connect them all and prosecute them under the RICO Act. Okay, so I want to break that down because I want to break down what's happening now, what happened then, and we don't know the specifics, what they're looking for, what the FBI raided the election hub for. But a quick refresher: in 2023, Fulton County indicted President Donald Trump and 18 others under the Georgia RICO law. Okay, this is Fannie Willis. Fat Fannie Willis did all of this, and they said it was election interference. Okay, these 18 people and Donald Trump, that they conducted election interference. Now, many conservatives saw this as political prosecution, obviously, but it was dismissed in late 2025. They dismissed the case entirely, citing constitutional and venue concerns. So it ended the prosecution against Trump and the 18 others. in late 2025. So that's huge. That means that the judge was like, yeah, you guys kind of screwed up this case. Fannie Willis did a poor job. There was issues and constitutional issues as well. So that dismissal was huge. The judge wrote that the alleged conduct, so the election interference, was not handled properly. Okay. And it was by Fulton County prosecutors, but it was properly handled at the federal level. So the judge wrote that an ongoing prosecution was impractical to continue. So there were some issues with Fannie Willis. I'm not going to get into all of it, but point is, Fulton County case, this Fulton County case was the last major state level prosecution against President Donald Trump. All the cases against President Donald Trump have been dropped up to that point, but in late 2025, this was the last one. Okay, so it's been dropped by the judge. Now, fast forward to 2026. You've got the FBI conducting this search warrant in Fulton County election hub. This is a center in Atlanta, and they seized records. You know, they could be seizing ballots. They could be seizing those tabulator tapes that I talked about, digital ballots, voter rolls. And they're not saying what they're actually investigating. They just seized everything. And the precise focus has not been publicly disclosed, but we know what happened in Fulton County that ultimately led to the election interference case against Trump and those 18 others, including the Illinois pastor, Stephen Lee. Okay, so you remember Rudy Freeman. Rudy Giuliani was with those 18 others and Trump in the election interference case. Pastor Stephen Lee was looped in via the RICO Act because he simply went to go talk to Ruby Freeman about the social media videos that were circulating online. So Ruby Freeman, she was an election worker, just a refresher, and her daughter was also an election worker, Shay Moss. Okay, and they were targets of extreme scrutiny after the 2020 election because videos circulated online of them putting ballots in suitcases, putting them under the table. You guys remember this, the tabulator multiple times, feeding ballots through the tabulator multiple times. And they were dismissed. These videos were dismissed as conspiracy theories. And, Rudy Giuliani tried to get Ruby to testify, and change her testimony and try to testify against, the Fulton County election system there. You see what's going on here, where they were trying to get Rudy to kind of jump ship and, admit that she committed election fraud, right? But what ultimately happened, Trump ally Rudy Giuliani, not Ruby Freeman, Rudy Giuliani, had defamed Ruby and her daughter, and it resulted in a $148 million verdict. And then the RICO Act, that they had interfered with the election by intimidating a poll worker or whatever. But that was all thrown out. Okay, so what are they getting, the FBI? Is it in relation to the Ruby Freeman thing? The Georgia indictment back in 2023, the election interference indictment, alleged that there were actions taken by these Trump allies to get her to alter her testimony. And look, for years we were told to shut up about this. Okay, and that's the point I want to make here today. For years we've been told, shut up, don't look at Fulton County. Shut up, those videos are conspiracy theory. And then on top of that, in 2023, you had the election interference case just come down crashing on these 18 people who are like, wait a second, we were just trying to talk to Ruby about the videos and, see if she was told anything. Like, you can't ask questions because you're dangerous and the RICO Act was designed for gangsters. And we were told Fulton County was off limits. Case closed, move on, nothing to see here. Although we do know for a fact that 36 out of the 37 voting precincts, none of the poll workers signed off on the tabulators, the tabulator tapes. Okay. So now a raid has finally happened, and federal investigators are looking into Fulton County elections. We know that. And suddenly people who scream democracy, 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 they don't want transparency anymore. They don't want the FBI getting their hands on things that are there at the election hub. It's funny how that works. And here's the truth that they're never going to admit. Questioning an election process is not harassment. Investigating a public election, an election activity is not defamation. Okay, like they got Rudy Giuliani for in regards to Ruby Freeman. Okay, questioning, hey, what were you doing in this video? That's not defamation. It's asking questions. That's not harassment. Okay, that's not intimidating somebody. No individual involved in administering elections should be immune from scrutiny. If you are a poll worker, election judge, a county clerk, you should be held under scrutiny all the time, because that's how we have integrity in our elections. So this raid, it doesn't declare guilt, but it absolutely destroys the claim that everything's fine, everything's perfect, everything's resolved. And I'm very excited about that, because I thought for sure we weren't going to get, and we still might not, people in cuffs for what they did to rig the 2020 election. We know for a fact 36 out of the 37, like that's state statute, election statute that says that you have to sign off on the tabulators, and on the counting of the tabulators. Like you have to sign off on these tabulator tapes. And that's what scares them. That, hey, Donald Trump, even 6 years after the fact, he is not going to dismiss this as resolved, settled, and beyond question. He's still going after this. And I think that's great. I'm excited. We'll have to see if anything actually comes of it. It could just be one of those Trump administration things where he says 1, 2, 3, don't make me count to 3. Okay, I got to 3. I'm going to count again. I hope that people are actually cuffed. People are actually held accountable for not following election statutes, and for really going after people for questioning the election results. They said it was election interference because Pastor Stephen Lee simply went to go talk to Ruby Freeman after the social media videos and ask questions of her. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Okay, asking questions, holding election workers accountable, holding them to some sort of scrutiny. Like, that should be expected and applauded, because that means we give a damn about election integrity and we care about our public, or our elections. So, yeah. All right, let's shift gears. I do want to talk about Illinois now. Let's get to some of your chats. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Okay. This is always a thing. I'm going to address it just really quickly because it's so funny when people get into my comment section. The leftists, hey, the program's for you too. I hope you're a subscriber. Release the files. Stop protecting pedophiles. Trump is worse than Epstein. Okay. Like I said, and have said on this program multiple times, that Donald Trump is honestly, his hands are not, I think his hands are tied here. Okay, so what we're talking about is court, and people don't understand this. The court sealed the Epstein files or the client list. Okay, what we want, it will never get, likely, because that was sealed by not President Donald Trump, okay, under his administration, but by, I think it was Barack Obama and Joe Biden. They, like, their national security, their intelligence communities directed the court to seal this up. Okay, so it wasn't Donald Trump who did that. where you have intelligence communities directing the courts to seal up certain documents, and we can't get those unless perhaps Tulsi Gabbard at the direction of the president. But even then, I think she'd have to jump through all kinds of hoops to get this unsealed. So Donald Trump has been very transparent with Epstein, and even Pam Bondi, I think that she kind of botched it here, and that's why people are very upset, because she released things in these binders, gave them to conservative influencers, and really what I think this could be chalked up to is that she was trying to be a show off for her boss. Okay, Pam Bondi. I didn't want Pam Bondi in there to begin with. I wanted Matt Gaetz, but whatever. I think what she was trying to do was, make a name for herself with these Epstein files. So she released some of the stuff that we've already had. Okay. And she called it new. And people want the client list. People want the names of the people that Epstein trafficked the humans to. Okay. He went to prison for human trafficking, sex trafficking. But yet we don't have the customers, the clients, the people he actually trafficked the humans to. We want those names. But those names, I'm certain of it, are sealed by the court at the direction of intelligence agencies. Now, why in the world would they do that? Now, I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate here. Like I said, that wasn't under the Trump administration. This was under previous administrations. They kept it sealed, the Joe Biden one. I think it was sealed under Barack Obama. And then they kept it sealed under Joe Biden. But these intelligence agencies sealed it up probably, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, probably because if they were to release those names, it would cause global economic collapse. Okay, so Trump is in a position right now where, and if he could even do it, which I don't think he can even do it, the people who sealed it should really answer for why they sealed it. And they should be drug out and have to testify as to why they sealed those documents and why the court sealed those documents. And we have separation of powers. Now that they're sealed, like that's the court that seals them, and you can't direct the court to unseal them because now there's separation of powers. That's the president, the executive branch, and using his agencies to unseal them. I don't think that he can do it. But President Donald Trump, let's just say for now that he could unseal them. You would have probably banking CEOs taken out of boardrooms. I mean, that would probably cause foreign prime ministers, people wouldn't trust the banking system anymore because all of their CEOs were trafficking or were buying people and having sex with people. You would cause global economic collapse if you unsealed those documents, likely. Now, me being the president of the United States, I would probably say something like, yeah, let's do it. I don't care if there's global economic collapse. It's the right thing to do. It's a tricky situation because global economic collapse could definitely mean like death. That would mean death and poverty across the world. So Donald Trump has done all he can do. Congress has done all they can do to get the information out there. So yeah, I hate when leftists, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They say that Trump is concealing it. No, actually, it was whenever Epstein was, taken in, they sealed all of that evidence up in court, or directed the courts to seal all of that up. And that wasn't Donald Trump. In fact, Donald Trump tipped off FBI and law enforcement and cooperated with law enforcement. And that led to his arrest and apprehension. So, yeah, I mean, you're just wrong. Let's get to Illinois. I want to get to this. Illinois bills, they always sound compassionate, and really the feminization of the Illinois state legislature. Like, I looked this up the other day. It's still minority female. Like, there's not a majority of females in the state legislature, but over recent years, females have been quietly taking over the state legislature. And much like institutions like nursing and teaching, these are disrespected institutions. Why? Because it's been feminized. Nobody deals with the reals over the feels anymore. So these are highly disrespected institutions, nursing, teaching. Why? The kid, I mean, look at the results. The kids, they can't read at grade level. Nursing, we're sicker than ever. When's the last time somebody said, yeah, I just loved the experience I had at the hospital? Nobody says that. Okay. And then this is another institution, government, okay, that fails us epically. How do I know that? We're in $145 billion in pension debt. Okay, because you've got this feminization of being compassionate and giving people $200,000 pensions. Okay, and that's just not sustainable. So they are in a crap ton of pension debt. They are spending way beyond their means. They've increased their spending by, I mean, from 30 billion to 55 billion is the budget now since Pritzker's been in office. It's just the fact, like, what are women known for? Being too feely, not operating in logic, but rather feely, and trying to be compassionate towards everybody, which is just not a feasible model for governance. Okay. You can't cater to like the 0.001% of people. That's not how government works. Okay. But you get women in there and they're overly compassionate, and then they spend money. That's one thing women are really great at, spending money. Okay. So over the Illinois, in comparison to other states, they have a very female dense legislature, just to let you know. But this bill, on the surface, it's very compassionate. Oh, so cute. Rainbows, kittens. And then you peel this back and then you're like, wow, this is a classic case of, hey, maybe you're like trying to be good and you have good intentions here, but it's bad governance. Okay. Illinois has a problem with that. They cater to the 0.0001%. This isn't the bill today, but there is a bill out there. It's called the blue envelope. There's a bill that directs the Secretary of State to issue blue envelopes, literally just a blue envelope, to autistic drivers. Okay. Obviously, they're high functioning enough to be driving behind the wheel of a vehicle, and the blue envelopes are supposed to act as a visual signal to the officer pulling them over in a traffic stop that, hey, I have communication problems. It's supposed to avoid confrontation or a possible situation between the officer and the autistic driver. Okay. One, I don't know how many autistic drivers are out there that are high functioning enough to, be driving a vehicle. Probably very, very small portion of the autistic community. And even so, if you're that high functioning, like, do you even know you have autism? Okay. Perhaps you're diagnosed with it. And you know that you have autism, but like you're high functioning enough to operate a vehicle. You're probably high functioning enough to have communicate with an officer. And if you're not, during a traffic stop, and if you're not, you probably shouldn't even be behind the wheel of a vehicle anyway. Right? I mean, if you can't carry out a conversation, which is all part of driving, communicating is driving. Like, you wave somebody, you beep your horn, like this is all communication. Like, if you're not capable of doing that, you probably shouldn't be behind the wheel anyway. But like, I mean, it sounds nice, right? Like, whoa, we're going to try to provide these envelopes to the autistic community, and we want them to, not get into confrontations with officers. And sounds really compassionate on the surface. And then you pull it back and you're like, wait a second. Like, this is going to cause a whole host of problems, because you're going to have people reaching for their blue envelopes that they get. And then, the officer is like, wait a second, you're reaching for something. And, like, this could cause 5 problems. You're trying to solve for a problem that probably doesn't even exist. And you're going to create 5 more problems by trying to fix this one problem that doesn't even really exist. And it sounds good intentions, like great intentions, but it's really bad governance, because you're trying to placate, I guess, to like 0.001% of people. Okay. um, it doesn't have to, like, now you're going to create probably, and here's really what and they can say it's good intentions, but really what's going on here with the blue envelope situation is they're probably going to create an entire division within the Secretary of State's office to issue these to the autistic drivers. And what does that mean? That means more bureaucracy, more government, more people getting paid with taxpayer dollars. That's ultimately what that's about, I would imagine. Never give these people the benefit of the doubt that, oh, they're just trying to be really compassionate or get good intention. And I think that there might be some bleeding heart liberals that are in the state legislature that really just want to be compassionate to the 0.0001% because they're, feminized beyond belief. There might be some of those people there, but there is a malicious group of people there who say, oh, we're going to disguise our growing bureaucracy as a form of good intention. And look, Springfield never helps people. Okay. Even when they do these good intention type things, never really helps people. They created a mandate. It creates costs, and they create task force, and it's just creates a mess for everybody. Now this bill, House Bill 4508, it proposes that marriage license applications be done through video call. Okay, so right now in Illinois, you can do a marriage application online, but you have to verify that information in person when you go to obtain your license. Okay, so they want to do away with that. Now, I think it's right now for people with disabilities and serious health conditions. But we know how Springfield operates. Right now, it's going to be people with disabilities. Next year, it'll be people who just want to do it out of convenience, participate in a video call, and verify their application. Okay. So right now, it's for people with disabilities and serious health conditions. That service will be offered to them through House Bill 4508, where they can apply for their license and verify it via video call. Now, people are going to jump into the comment section. How dare you, Kat? You're so mean, towards, and you hate disabled people. What, you don't want them to get married? Slow down. I will make the argument that if you're that disabled where you can't go in person and verify your marriage application, perhaps you're not, like, this marriage is not going to be something that is of a priority to you. It sounds like you have issues you've got to deal with, and marriage should be the last thing on your mind, right? If you're that disabled to where you can't even go to the grocery store, I think you got bigger problems. Okay. Anyway, I before people jump into the comment section and say, you hate disabled people, you don't think disabled people should get married. No, this is about process verification, local capacity, and whether the state of Illinois, once again, they think they know better than the people who are actually doing the work. Okay, so county clerks, here's the bill in a nutshell. Okay, marriage license applications can be completed through a real-time video call, and in limited cases, the county clerk or designee could go out to the applicant's location and complete the process in person. They're doing this for disabled people and people with serious conditions. Supporters say this removes barrier for people with mobility challenges or serious health conditions. Okay, if you have mobility challenges, serious health conditions, should you even be getting married anyway? I mean, I don't know if some of these people might not even be in a condition to consent to getting married. Okay. If it's that bad where you can't move and go somewhere. Okay. And, I'm not disputing that people genuinely don't have struggle challenging. Like, I'd imagine this is going to be for really, really fat people who can't move. Okay. They might genuinely have a problem traveling. They've got bigger fish to fry, I think, than getting married. Okay. And the question is not, do we want to help people? The question is, does this bill actually solve a problem? okay, without creating 5 new ones. And I don't think that this bill does. I don't even think that this is really an issue. Maybe 0.01% of people find it difficult to go to the county clerk's office to get married. But marriage is a serious thing. Okay. It's legal, it's spiritual. In my belief, it is sanctified by God, done in the eyes of God, should be treated as serious. Okay. And not over some video call. And there should be barrier to entry, right? Much like voting. I don't think that everybody should be voting like if you're disabled and we have to vote by mail and we have to get you a vote by mail ballot because you have to vote. Like, okay, if you're disabled enough to where you can't go to the in-person and vote, perhaps you shouldn't be voting. This is very serious stuff. And we can't risk people who are not capable of feeding themselves or taking care of themselves. We can't risk those types of people voting. This is a very serious business. Okay. Marriage is very serious. Voting is very serious, and should be treated as such. And there should be barrier to entry. That's my opinion. Don't like it. Oh, well, not everybody should be married. Not everybody should vote. And that's okay. Okay. So State Senator Sally Turner, she's a Republican. She's quoted in the Center Square. She's a former county clerk, has decades of experience. She served as a Logan County clerk and recorder for almost a decade, and then she went on to the Senate. She dealt with the real people, real paperwork, real budgets, and she looks at HB 4508, and what she sees is an unfunded mandate. Like, you're going to have county clerks who are already kind of stretched thin in these, especially rural counties, southern counties. And these are her words, not mine. Quote in the Center Square: "The state does not have any money to put towards this, and the counties don't have any money because we keep taking it away from them." For background, what the state of Illinois does and did. So back in like the 70s, I think they promised some of the state income to go to the local distributed fund, where these local communities would have some of that state income tax. Well, they pulled that back in 2012, and they only get a small percentage of the state income tax. So the state took it away because they needed to adjust their budget shortfalls, and they never gave it back to the local municipality. So they're all already kind of scraping. So I want to talk dollars and cents because Springfield sure doesn't like to. This bill doesn't come with funding. It doesn't come with staff. It doesn't come with technology, cybersecurity infrastructure. You're going to start doing things completely virtually online. You have to protect that, especially if you're using the internet in some form. And I'd imagine you join an app. That stuff can all be taken or hacked into, and data breaches. I've talked about that here on this program. Illinois suffers from a lot of data breaches. IDES during the pandemic, they outsourced some of their stuff to a third-party company, and the third-party company dealt with a breach. And then, as a way to remedy that, this is so fascinating. As a way to remedy these breaches, they offer the taxpayers who are affected free credit monitoring. And then you look into it and you're like, wait a second. This credit monitoring, this is Experian Identity Works. So LifeLock is more of a notorious one, but Illinois, they paid Experian Identity Works a ton of money to provide free credit monitoring to the people whose data they let go and get breached, and social security numbers, very, very important data. And, that's just like a Band-Aid over a bullet hole, right? The free credit monitoring. But you look into it and then you're like, okay, Identity Works, like, who owns them? Who owns Experian? And then you're like, oh, wow, crap. BlackRock owns 10% of that company. BlackRock also happens to contribute to Governor J.B. Pritzker and Democrats. Fascinating. It's almost like, You paid them for service to provide these taxpayers who you screwed over, and you're paying them to provide that service, and they benefit if Experian Identity Works benefit. So yeah, it's a whole racket. I don't even believe these data breaches are accidental. Okay. I think it's a way to ensure that places like BlackRock, these companies do well. And when they do well, Democrats do well. Okay. So anyway, who pays for this? This marriage via video. Okay. Who's ultimately going to wind up paying for it? It's not going to be really Cook County that's affected all that much, or DuPage County. It's going to be the counties who don't have giant IT departments or the infrastructure to do this. They're going to have to come up with it. So Southern Illinois counties, places where county clerk's offices might just have 2 employees to them, like 2. Okay. Now ask yourself these questions. Who builds the virtual system? You're going to outsource it probably to a third-party company or app. Who runs the video calls? A third-party company or app. Who verifies the identities remotely? Is that still going to be the county clerk? This is a really big deal. You have to identify the identities of the people getting married because they have to be U.S. citizens. They have to be over the age of 18. There's eligibility requirements to get married. Who trains the people who are doing the video calls and doing the marriage application online and verifying that application? Who's going to train those people? Who handles disputes, right? So say you're getting married, you fill out an application. Maria, she's a non-citizen, and she checks citizen, and then she's marrying Brad. He's a citizen, and they bring their marriage application, and there's a dispute there. Hey, Maria, we don't think you're a non-citizen. Or we don't think that you're a citizen. We're disputing your application now. And they're doing this all over video. Well, who's going to handle that dispute? And is it going to be handled? Or are you going to have situations where you don't catch that and you've got a non-citizen marrying a U.S. citizen? You don't require the supplement paperwork or immigration paperwork for that. You know, you have to go through immigration in order to do that. And most importantly, who gets blamed when something goes wrong? Say a 16-year-old gets married to a 40-year-old guy and you didn't verify her age in person. Who gets blamed for that? It's not going to be the lawmakers who passed this mandate on county clerks. It's going to be the county clerks who get blamed. It's not the lawmakers. So this is a really serious thing. Marriage licenses aren't library cards. Okay. These are serious legal documents with real consequences, real eligibility requirements. Why? Because marriage is important in this country. It's a sanctified union. And there should be some sort of barrier to entry. And clerks are responsible currently for verifying age requirements, parental consent, identity, who you are, the accuracy of the sworn information on the application. And right now they do it all online, but the applicants do have to appear in person and swear to everything that is true and correct. Why? Because verification matters. And you have to come in person and verify that you are a citizen, that you are over the age of 18. And, there's a very, very basic question. I don't know how you're going to certify that all the information is correct and true if that person doesn't sign off on it and if it's not all done in person. And look, how do you verify a parent's consent remotely? Okay, a minor's age remotely. How do you identify people without physical documents or bringing those documents in person to the county clerk? Like, you're going to do it all remotely. Something's bound to be falsified. And who's going to be legally responsible? It's going to be the clerks. It's not a legislator who voted yes on this dumb legislation. And I get it. It's for disabled people right now only and people with serious conditions. But it won't stay that way for long. Okay. And cybersecurity. Sally Turner in the Center Square puts it bluntly, anything that goes through the internet is kind of scary. Yeah. Illinois already, and we talked about this, struggles to secure their databases right now. They've had several data breaches at IDHS, the Illinois Department of Human Services, Illinois Department of Employment Security. They've had several data breaches, Illinois Department of Corrections. And we're supposed to believe that county clerk's offices can suddenly just safeguard sensitive personal information through a new virtual system, and that it's not going to cost taxpayers a dime, right? Like, come on now. Government is historically bad at rolling out tech, securing data, and updating their systems. And, you know, the answer is not, let's move more legal processes online. No, that is not the answer. Senator Sally Turner, she raised an important question. She asks, is this a widespread problem that requires statewide legislation? Of course not, right? This is something that's probably already handled on a case-by-case basis. If somebody is seriously disabled or has serious health conditions and there's a marriage, which I would question that marriage, but it's probably already handled. You know, and with existing accommodations. So, yeah. And like I said, disabled people, if you're that disabled where you can't go in person and verify who you are to get married, maybe you shouldn't be getting married, right? It is a legal and spiritual commitment. And if you can't leave the house, perhaps it's not for you, right? And that's okay to say. I don't know why that's like, oh, everyone has to vote. Everyone has to be able. These are privileges. These are not rights. You are not entitled to get married. You are not entitled to vote. Okay. It is not an obligation, right, where you have to do it. This is something that should have barriers to entry. Voting and marriage. So right now, the bill requires written certification from a medical professional to justify in-person accommodations at the applicant's location. So county clerk can, under this bill, go in person. And I wouldn't even be opposed to that. That is better than doing the whole thing online and virtually. But I mean, that adds bureaucracy. You're going to have designated people who go in person to accommodate these disabled individuals. That's more forms, more verification, more work for clerks, and more bureaucracy, more taxpayer dollars being dedicated to the county clerk's office. And, you know, this is a problem that probably affects like a few people statewide. And, you know, we shouldn't be weakening verification. We shouldn't be overburdening our clerks. We shouldn't be moving sensitive legal processes online without funding the safeguards. You know, and just because you say that does not mean that you're not being compassionate. It just means that you're not being careless. Okay, so really what I think this is, it's a long game. I think that there have been whispers about virtual voting for quite some time, where Democrats, they're playing the long game. They're introducing this bill. Next, they're going to try to introduce a bill that says anybody out of convenience can get their marriage license completely online and virtually and via video call. Okay. Next after that will be, okay, now you can vote virtually because we have an infrastructure set up for the marriage process. And look, it's working, which it probably wouldn't be. And Democrats are going to use that as justification to introduce a bill that says, hey, let's do voting completely virtually. So that would look different than vote by mail. Vote by mail currently, you know, the return address is to the county clerk's office. You can track ballots in some counties. So there are kind of some safeguards. I will say that about vote by mail. I think that the third parties that kind of do the vote by mail process that county clerks, you know, outsource it to, kind of screw up a lot. And there's a lot of screw ups with vote by mail. And we haven't even perfected that, but now we're going to move on. We're going to do virtual voting. So they do the long game. The next bill that they introduce is going to be virtual voting, and then they're going to use this, the virtual online marriages and applications. They're going to use this and use it as justification, and they're going to say, oh, the infrastructure already exists. It wouldn't be that big of a deal if we just started doing vote by virtual, right? Virtual voting. That's how the Democrats operate. All right. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I wanted to get to that. So do appreciate you being here. Subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll get to some of your comments. The winery could have definitely blossomed if she had Pelosi as a silent business partner. Yeah. Yeah, we know Ilhan Omar, it was like worth $15,000 one year. And then within a year's time, it like ballooned to $5 million. And then you go to the winery address, it doesn't exist. There's like something there, but it's not a winery. And then you go to their website, you can't get wine. You call the number, it's disconnected. Like it's a fake business. Ilhan Omar's winery that they've reported, and it inflates their net worth. And it's problematic, for sure. And Pelosi, yeah, she probably, you know, what's so weird? Pelosi, Kamala, Gavin Newsom, they're all into wine. Kamala Harris, she went to this winery where she used an alias, and I don't know about you, but anybody who's using an alias to obtain alcohol probably has an alcohol problem. We know Pelosi has some sort of issues. Maybe it's a little harder than the sauce. I don't know. All right, hit that like button. I'm so glad that you've joined me. We will be back bright and early tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time. I'll see you later.